So I have been meaning to make a video to help out with this for nearly a month now, and I've been kind of dragging my feet about it because I've been very busy with other things. But um, basically, right now, I'm going to the University of Alabama online by distance, and if you look on YouTube or anything like that to see what that's like, it's very limited. There's one girl that went for mechanical engineering a couple years ago that started to make a video about that, but it was more specific to um, her situation. It wasn't very elaborate, and she ended up dropping out of school not sometime later, as according to one of her comments. She had put, "I'm not posting any more videos because I dropped out, but maybe soon." That's not very encouraging. So what I'm going to do is create a video for my situation with University of Alabama online by distance, and show what I've done to kind of on my own to kind of keep myself organized, make a plan, and perform well in learning. So, first, a little background. I decided to go to college right now because I kind of want to provide my career with some more sugar, if you will, to the cookie. I'm doing pretty well with my career, but I'd like to learn a little bit more. It's pretty much that simple. I thought about going to Phoenix University. I actually had applied and set my FAFSA up to go through Phoenix. And once I realized that I could also go to a full university for relatively the same price, I decided to give that a second look. And my biggest concern was, um, are they really online? Like, are they good with being online, kind of thing? I didn't want to be left on my own, if you will. Um, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a few moments. But basically, I ended up going through the process for Alabama Online, and I will be honest, remote orientating and onboarding, it's way lengthier than you think it should be. The orientation in its own, when you let's walk through the process. So let's say you're going to go with a student loan, you apply for FAFSA, it gets assigned to University of Alabama, everything gets approved there. The next step is they register you, and once you go through the registration steps, pretty simple. Then you've got to basically go into the Alabama Online portal and apply your FAFSA funds and like sign off on it, kind of thing. And it walks you through all that. But one big major step in the beginning is you get an orientation. And the orientation is built like a class inside the online thing. There's a module with several lessons and videos that you got to go through. It is not something you're going to do in an hour. It's straight up, I would say, if you're going to pay attention, take notes, and prepare everything, it's going to take you 6, 7 hours hauling ass, but trying to be effective at the same time. Have some notes ready. Be ready to keep some links that it gives you and pay attention. There are quizzes throughout the orientation. They're not hard or nothing. It's based on the information they're giving you. But definitely pay attention to that and set aside a weekend to do it if you work. About that. So I do work in my day job. I work probably about 55 hours a week to 65. So, and right now I'm also going to school full time. I have 5 classes. I'm looking at about 13 to 15 credits this semester. I have to look again. I think it's 13 this semester because I got one class that's 1 credit. So, with that being said, 5 classes right now, full time job. I do have an hour commute back and forth to work. So, my biggest barrier is time. So, coming into this, I knew that I needed to be very organized and effective with my time. And I'll say it's not perfect, but I've put a lot of effort towards that. And I wanted to take some time to share that effort with you guys, because the more people I speak about with this, the more people wish they would have known it when they were in college, or would implement these techniques now, that kind of thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is OneNote, the use of OneNote. And actually, you know what? I'm going to switch over to the Microsoft Planner. So to get there, first, after you get orientated, you get assigned an advisor. And when you get assigned an advisor, don't be surprised. It might take some time for them to reach out to you. I suggest to still email them every couple days, like every 1 or 2 days, to just poke the bear and say, hey, just to make sure I'm still, until you've got a reply and an appointment to be consulted. And then when you get that, then you can show up to your appointment. Don't be late. But when you get on with your advisor, they're going to, depending on which advisor you got, they're all different, but your advisor is going to work through the degree you have, what minor you might want, and the class structure that you might need. Now, once they assign you that class structure and go through all that conversation, they're going to show you how to see the syllabus and see what's required. Being a distance learner student, you really want to make sure that you don't have any in-person courses. That all needs to be asynchronous, and you need to take a note of if there's any proctored exams, and how they proctor them, what they allow. So some classes might need on-campus proctoring or on a campus proctoring, or certain proctoring providers. If it's lockdown browser or Examity or something like that, no problem. Just, you can do this at home. There's nothing to worry about. But if it's on campus only proctoring, which I haven't seen anything like that, but just look out for something like that. Those will be the ones where you have to take a day off from work, drive down there to school, wherever you are, or a nearby college, and go through that way. So, like I said, I haven't seen anything like that yet, so don't worry too much. Now, that gets me to the Microsoft Planner. So the first thing you want to do when you get all your syllabuses, you're signed up for all your classes, you need to make a plan right off the bat. Don't dive into any courses, don't do anything. Get your syllabuses, print them out. Now, you might notice that in the University of Alabama Blackboard, they have a course calendar, and I'll show you here what this looks like. So this is my Blackboard, and it's going to have me sign in here. So I'm gonna go to this calendar. This would, you would presume this would be my course calendar, and there's nothing here. Nothing. So if I click due dates, now I've got this stuff here, which is cool, but there's only a couple problems. So the first problem is this is not showing specific to me, really. Like, I can go back before I even signed up for these classes. I'm seeing other stuff here, but let's go to right now. So 625. So looking at this, there is something due today. I've already done this. There's nothing here that tells me I've already done it. I have no way to control done, not done from this. This is not a good to-do list for me. Additionally, my math course put all the due dates in a separate calendar in a PDF. My professor on that one is a great professor, but he put his calendar in his own thing. You had to click a link and go somewhere else to see your calendar. Well, I want everything centralized. Then I've got another course where they said everything's due at the last day of the semester. We don't care when you do it. Here's a suggested course timeline, but it's not due by then. It's due by the end of your semester. So you could theoretically wait to the last minute and just knock everything out in the last day if you're that good. So it won't show up on my calendar like that. Well, I need to make another calendar and centralize all this information to do this. So what I've adopted is, I'll pull up, I made a planner here. It's Microsoft Planner. And if your university usually has Microsoft license for you, which would include Microsoft Planner. So you access that online, okay? And I'll kind of come looking at this board here. We'll group by due date up here, and you'll see that I've completed all this stuff, all this stuff, all this stuff. I'm caught up for this week right now. And the next thing due for me is on the 5th. That's the soonest thing here. I'm looking at the 5th. And I named it. I just took the time and I named all this stuff. Now, it wasn't as simple as just typing it in here and adding tasks. What I did is I made a new plan up here for each class that I'm taking. So if you're taking 5 classes, there would be 5 plans. So let me walk you through that now. I'm going to add a new plan, and I'm just going to make it a blank plan. And check this text message. Okay. So, new blank plan. We're going to put test class for you guys. I'm not going to add it to any groups or nothing, and just leave it at that. Okay. Privacy. Sure, it's private. Create. So you'll see this come up in my list over here to the left once it's created. It's test class. Now, I go ahead and make a couple buckets. So, first I'm going to set my due date here, and you see there's nothing there. So, start on a grid right here, up at this grid, and start like this. What you'll do is you'll name, like if you got a homework assignment, it's 3.4 homework, right? And assign it to yourself. You have to do this. You'll understand why here in a minute. You can put a start date, but I start with my due dates. Whatever the course instructor said is due, and then to-dos, progress, not started, leave it all the same. Now, what I like to do, or what I'm getting in the habit of doing, is for tests, I'm going to put like urgent. For homework, I'm going to put important. And for studying, I'm going to put medium. And for extra credit, I'm going to put low. That's what I'm going to start doing. So you won't see this quite yet on my existing stuff, but this is what I'm going to start doing. So you'll take the time and repetitively do this for everything that's on all the syllabuses that you get. As soon as you get your syllabuses for all your class, centralize all that information right here with your tests, your quizzes, anything that any proctored exams, and extra credit assignments that you can get. Put all that in there. Put the due dates first. Okay. So once you have all that, your list might look something like my math one here, but I don't like to use this list. I go to the board and I work on first come, first needed basis right here. And that's kind of hard to see because everything's towards the right. But at first, everything was towards the left, and I needed to start tackling things, right? Without these looking completed, it would have looked like this. It's categorizing itself based on when it's coming up, right? So you can look at this and see this week I've got nothing due. I've done all my classwork for the week. What I like to do is I also like to click every once in a while, click my schedule, and everything green is done. Blue is what I'm about to do, like today. This is how I organize my day, is I'll go ahead and what you do is you put it in progress, and that makes it blue. Green is completed. Gray is not done, not started. So as you can see right here, for math, the next thing I've got coming up is July 5th. Well, hey, I don't want to look at class by class because that's still confusing. Well, easy. Go to assigned to me. If you assigned all those tasks to yourself, it'll show up here. Now this gets everything together for you, and I can look at my schedule and see again, I've got all of this done all the way up. The next thing I got due in any class is July the 5th. It looks like it's an exam, and this homework and another assignment I've got, I'm going to do today. I'm also going to knock out this chapter 10 thing here and a chapter 9 thing. You notice what's left is my exam, a test, and another test. I got 3 tests left after I knock out my plan today. And then there's another exam for the 8th. Today is currently the 25th, so I'm pretty far ahead. I'm right here. I'm missing a homework right here. Actually, I've done this, so I need to mark that off. But I'm going to double check that here in a minute before I do. Looks like I've missed a homework. So, I think I simply just forgot to mark that off. But, So moving through this, basically, this is how I tackle it. Now, what I'm trying to do is create myself a gap. Being a distance learner student, I have to do this a little differently. So I'm tackling assignments and homework, and then study, and kind of mixing in assignments and homework at the same time, but trying to create a gap of just straight study time. And then do my tests and quizzes a little early. I'm trying to do them like a day or two before they're due if I can, or whenever I feel like I've sufficiently studied enough. Um, so that's kind of how I'm doing that. And what's cool is I can come here to the charts, and it's automatically saying that, it kind of gives me an assignment or degree completion point, because I can look by class here and see, I'm about 50% complete with two of my classes, 75% of one of my classes, and about another 45 of another. And looking at the blue, that's how much I'm knocking out today, guys. That's how much I'm doing today. So looking at that, it's kind of cool to see, like, how much you've done, for those that need that progress point check as a motivator. So you can look at the grid too, but I messed up and I put everything in a class by class order, and that kind of put this out of order for me. So that's another reason why I use the board. Now, let me come back to OneNote. So if you're not familiar with OneNote notebook has a lot of features, a lot of tools with it, that are way underrated and understated. So what I did is I create a notebook, and you could do this starting with the online. I'll click this little grid part box up here if you're on a Microsoft site, and click OneNote. Okay, and you can do the same thing I'm doing online locally in the app like I just pulled up, but you're going to want to eventually pull in the app, and I'll show you why. So basically, you open up the notebook in the app, or create an app by, right click, a new notebook like that. And when you create a new notebook, you're going to put where it needs to go. And, you're going to want to store it in a OneDrive location for your school, and name it the class that you're going through. And when you name it that class, I go ahead and throw my syllabus in there on one page, okay, as a section. And any other course information, like I might throw the calendar in there for the course, or like contact info. I just add these pages under the header area of the class itself that I want to have everything handy with. And then I make another section by clicking this little plus sign, and I'll name it the module. And then under that section, I have these pages. I can add a page for each objective or lesson or class of that module that I'm doing. And I can take screenshots and paste them in here if I need to, or I can use my iPad and put OneNote on it and write my notes. And you will see that I'm doing that in several places. Let's see. Wasn't doing it quite yet, some of these places. Go to second module. Okay, so you see this is all handwritten right here. This is me practicing the math of the lesson they just gave me up at the top, where these screenshots have come from. So I'm kind of centralizing it. Now, one cool thing about that is I can search my notebook right here and type something like Integer and see where that pops up right here. It helps me find my notes a lot better. Now, another cool thing about OneNote is, let's say I'm listening to a video for learning purposes. I can come right here and click right there and click dictate, and it will listen as I'm listening to the video. But the key thing is that it has to be listening through speakers or something like that. You got to configure your audio where OneNote is listening through the same thing you're listening through. So once you have that, it can transcribe for you, and you can pay attention to your video. That's very important. Now, this note right here is not exactly how I would take it, but I'm just going to take some time and I'm going to lay this note out the way I might want to lay it. Boom. I've cleaned my notes up a little bit where it makes sense and I can read them a little bit better later. Right? Step one, got to configure the OneNote where it can listen to the audio. Step two, once you've done that, you can have it transcribe you and you can pay attention to the video. So you can sit there and do that, and that's what you'll see that I've done in some of these other areas. Go here. So as you can see, there's a transcript there. So there's another way to do this. When you're on YouTube, for example, if they give you a class and it has a YouTube video or something like that, you can come down here. Let me move my webcam here. So down here where these three dots are, show transcript, and copy all this text and paste it into your OneNote. This helps you search for the video's content later. There's many ways to do that. If they embed the video into Blackboard, there might be a transcript that you can download and just put it in your OneNote. That way you can search for the things that happened in the video. So now that you know how to do some good note taking there, my next suggestion is look up on how to take Cornell notes. That's something I've not been doing a lot of, but when it's a complex topic, you kind of want to get to where you do that. So because of the way I have this set up where my OneNotes file is stored on the OneDrive for my university, I can also open up that same OneNote on my notepad. And when I'm taking notes, I will do this in the test section here. I can still be on my computer here, listening to a video, reading a lesson, whatever I want to be doing. But I'm going to open up my notepad and show you how quickly this works. So first, I've got it open in my notepad, and this is how it looks. And we'll start writing. It was that fast. Little bit of a lag, but it goes, right? And then if I want to take a screenshot of something, Windows Shift S, and I can paste it right below that note, and it shows on my iPad just as fast. And then I know where to be writing. So I'm kind of using two devices at once, but this helps me centralize all my information. Now, let's have a little quick point about something here. So, good planning at first. That's important. Don't dive into your lessons until you've got all of your lessons centralized. I would suggest strongly Microsoft Planner. Using any other planner, it's not going to be integrated with anything else, and there's more going on to this than you think. I would keep it all in Microsoft, and I'm going to let you just go down this path of learning about how Microsoft products integrate with each other. But the key thing, you build it in Microsoft Planner, and you get your OneNote set up, and you get some good techniques on this. And there's more videos than what I'm going to make here about OneNote. There's tons of tools where you can transcribe by inputting audio. Another one is if you're in class listening to a lecture, you can record videos or audio there as well. You know, your professor's lecture, as long as you got a good mic and a good room. You can insert other files and PDFs that you get from your class. So like if you look at my legal class here, let's see. So there will be kind of like a test I downloaded here, and I inserted a PDF into my OneNote, and it printed it out for me so I could search and review this later. So this is one of the key things that I want to point out is that you got to stay organized. But even with all that, you can still get some brain fog. Okay. You know, if you look at how many lessons are over here on me, I mean, it was a ham of a few days there putting that together, but I've not lost it. It's stored in a cloud location. If something happens to this computer, I've got it. If I don't have to worry about my notebook getting rained on, like It's way more peace of mind for studying later. I would highly suggest, once you've taken all your notes for a lesson, before you go into the assignments or homework, to see if there's any Quizlets available to practice with, or if not, make some. Practice some of those, read over your notes again, highlight things, write out some concepts on your iPad, get away from the computer you were sitting at and go somewhere else with your iPad or tablet or whatever, and write out some concept writing. So I might come over here to the side of this image after I'm reading it a second time and write something out like, oh, this was cool, or oh, I wonder about this, like any kind of questions, almost like a Cornell note, but the reverse. um, so with that, if you feel like you're getting brain fog and you're diving in too much, what I would suggest to do is just take a break. Okay, don't sit down at the computer crashing anything more than, say, an hour at a time. Get up, go do something that gets your blood rate up for 10 to 20 minutes. For some, that might be exercise. For some, that might be going to do some yard work. For some, that might be going to check in the mail and walking around the block one time, something like that. I would say don't make it typical tasks that you need to do, like your chores per se, or like any kind of errands that you need to run. You need to make it quality time. I'm setting out to do this so that I can get rid of brain fog. And when you do that, try to make it relatively about the same things every time you do it. Maybe the same two or three things. So maybe today I feel like I'm going to exercise when I get some brain fog. Tomorrow I feel like I'm going to meal prep if I get some brain fog. But as soon as I'm done, I'm going to go sit back down. You got to tell yourself, you got to do a Jedi mind track. As soon as I finish with this, I'm going to go sit back down and wrap out the next lesson. Okay. And keep it simple with that. Um, Other than that, that's the most of what I've got to offer. As far as that goes, stay in communication with your professors. If you got a question about something, shoot an email if that's what they prefer. And know that with Bama by Distance, there's a lot of resources there and a lot of information they give you on the orientation day about, the IT contact information and all this other stuff. But just don't let it beat you up in the get go. Take good notes, set it aside. When you're ready, it'll be handy for you. Another thing that I would suggest, when you get all those resources, when you get a class, save your assignments in any external notebooks as a favorite and put it in a folder in your browser by class, like I've done here, and then your university resources, any communication methods, which we use Outlook and Slack, your Quizlets and study material, planning, your bill stuff, you got to pay your student bills, and that's it. Make folders by, when you save it as a favorite, you just come here to this. I'm using Microsoft Edge. Chrome has a similar way, but you can come up right here and create a folder and then put favorites in that folder. So that keeps everything organized. That way, when you're diving into a class and you're taking notes on a class, you know exactly where everything goes. You're not worried about losing anything, and you've got your techniques right. That's what all this boils down to, is having good technique from the get-go. If you don't have good technique and you change your mind about how you're going to take your notes, or you change your mind about how you're going to do this, or you have a learning curve later, it's only going to make you go backwards and redo something or start something new going forward. And it's kind of tough to do that, especially in an environment where you get an exam from something you learned weeks ago. Um, so I hope this is helpful for anybody that's learning by distance. And if you have any questions about that, but feel free to shoot me a comment below or anything like that. I'm more than happy to help. And yeah, that's it.